All right, Councilmember Cardoza.
Okay. The last couple of weeks, we haven't had anything with the chamber. It's been a quiet couple of weeks with that. We're going to start back up this week. I'm going to kick the meetings. I attended the Fair River Air Quality Management District meeting here. We're moving forward on, there's been a lot of issues through the state. It's coming down to us. Of course, the state, they're cutting budgets, so there'll be more to come on that point. Attended an ad hoc committee meeting for the Yuba City Transit Authority that will be given to the board. I can't say anything. We just had an ad hoc committee for that will be given to the directors this Thursday at the Transit Authority meeting. I have attended the Community Museum, Memorial Museum board meeting. The museum has their event schedule for 2020. And they got new things. We're going to have a farmers market this year. I don't know if it's going to be Thursday nights. They're talking every Thursday night between May and October. That's a start. And then they're thinking of bigger and better things every day. So that'll be moving forward as months come. Attended the Building a Better Partnership from the Regional Housing Authority. That's a trifecta. That's Colusa, Butte, Yuba Sutter. And we're working, there's putting in lots of applications. There's lots of buildings going on. We have a building going on in Penn Valley right now as we speak, being built. Live Oak has a couple more not homeless, but affordable housing going on. And of course, we're going to have ours starting here at the end of 2020, and hopefully we'll be done the end of 2021 on Richland Road. I attended the Sutter Beach Flood Control Agency meeting for the mayor. He was out in Japan. I attended that forum. At the meeting, we finished up on the last of our levees on the south side of Nicholas. And then our new goal is we're going to run the program for the federal government on our bypass levees. So we got a few stretch miles that are in bad shape, and we're going to start that this year in the next coming months. Attended the community workshop with the mayor with our Yuba City Economic Development Corps. We held a regional 5-year planning session. We discussed the goals that were set 5 years ago, how we're doing, and then we set goals for the next 5 years. There'll be further update on that too. That was the first meeting of many. City events, attended the retirement party for Rick Reguero. Thank you, Rick, for 26 years of service. We attended the Employees Awards Dinner. This afternoon, I attended the swearing in for our new police officer, Bill Williams, and our new Community Service Officer, Kaylee Emberly. And then on closing, I would like to give special thanks to our Public Works team, our Assistant Deputy Director of Public Works, Kevin Bradford, our street crew team, Joe Howard and Bill Jowl, and for helping me. They insisted on getting some parking stalls done on Percy Avenue, like folks said here earlier. It was for senior citizens. It was a bad setup for the elderly, and they took care of the situation. And that's a lot better, safe place to be for clients to get in and out. And I want to thank them especially. Thank you very, very much for doing quick service on that. It made a big difference in our community. And that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Espindola.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to have you back from Japan, so look forward to what you have to present to us, and Spencer and the rest of the crew. So I was also in attendance with Councilman Cardoza and the Sutter Butte, so I'm not going to repeat what he said. We're pretty much on track. There is discussion of going to the cap and working with some of our federal folks to help target some funding to expand into those areas that Councilman Cardoza just mentioned. I also attended the Yuba Sutter Economic Development Corporation, and they are in the process, and that's where the Mayor Harris and Councilman Cardoza attended. They call it a 5-year comprehensive economic development strategy process. And in this is the first time that the city of Yuba City has participated in this 5-year process. So this would perhaps open the opportunities for us to qualify for some grants or other federal funds for infrastructure. So I'm glad that we had 2 representatives, and I think Ben Moody is now dialed in to the future meetings and to be able to be present on those meetings, so that way we are well represented at these meetings. So the next survey, they sent out surveys to all of us to complete, so I hope that you have completed your survey, fellow council members. The next meeting is going to be March 25th, which is the SEDS committee meeting. At that meeting, they're going to be talking about sharing the SWOT, which is our strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. They're going to look at that whole survey data and then create a strategic plan, which will then define goals for resiliency and sustainability in the areas of downtown Renaissance, housing availability and affordability, population retention, disaster preparedness, and industrial diversification. I always have a problem with that word. And then on top, they're going to also develop implementation tactics and develop evaluation metrics. I'm planning to attend that particular meeting. So I believe that part of these meetings are open to the public. So if you're interested in helping answer some of these questions, please contact our Yuba City Economic Development Corporation. They would love to hear from you, so that way you're included in this discussion of surveying and trying to figure out what we can do as a community. It was a pleasure to be at the Employees Awards Dinner. Councilman Shaw and I think probably did the best award giving, not to say that you other 3 gentlemen didn't do. So it was a nice evening, well done by our city staff, and it was probably one of the larger groups of awards dinner that we've had, and it was really fun to be there and appreciate having that. On a more serious note, I do want to talk about a little bit the fire that occurred at the Sandpiper Cove, where we had 9 units that burned down and people were displaced. And I have to say a few thank yous, and the work goes on because people are still needing support, and our city has responded to that. And so I am grateful for our city moving out there to help a community that lives in our area, that lives in affordable housing or low income, and they survive on their jobs that are low income employment, and many of them just live by day, but they're very proud, and they have children in our schools, and they're good community members. And so for us to be present to support and help them in this moment of crisis was critical and important. So I'd like to thank the American Red Cross for stepping up in the shelter. The first responders, which was our fire department, and our fire chief, Alexander, was there with our team. Our police department showed up to assist. After all things were settled, we were able to get involved, have our developmental services with our director there, Ben Moody, who helped identify some housing support, coordinating those efforts. Our fire association gentlemen, and there's some women there, also donated some backpacks, supported with gift cards. Supervisor Flores showed up to see how he can help, and also with some resources there. And our district, Yuba City Unified School District, Jen Cates showed up as well. And their foundation has helped out with $300 gift cards to the families. Initially, there was about 19 students in our school system that were displaced from this, and the need is still there. I just helped out a few last night. And so I want to thank our team, our community, for stepping up, and also for the Hispanic Alliance for Advancement. They also stepped up in helping the community. And in these moments is what makes us a place of others that we respect and want in our community. And I hope that we can be able to do this in any circumstances, no matter where you live, no matter who you are. And I was very proud to be able to say that We took care of that business quickly. We responded effectively. And our city team and our city manager and the team was completely involved in making sure that every step of the way, the process was smooth, quickly, and responsive with compassion and humanity. So I thank you for all that you have done for our community.
All right, Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to start with the incident last Monday night myself, because that's really been about the only thing that's really gone on. If everything else is future. But Chief Alexander, Chief Landon, Miss Langley, Mr. Moody, please applaud your teams. Pardon the French, but they did a hell of a job. Our job as a city is to protect. It is to take care of our residents. And you guys were spot on. And, we had public works out there blocking the road. We had the fire department out there. We had the police department. You guys did a hell of a job keeping everyone safe. Red Cross wasn't the only ones there. TIP was there. People were very well taken care of. I checked in later that evening just before everything was getting ready to be cleared out. And Chiefs, you guys did a great job handling the media, handling the people. Went around to the Red Cross shelter. They opened, originally it was going to be Franklin. It turned out being at the main hall. They were setting up for 80. 8 showed up. I was impressed, and I'll leave it simply as that, because Chief, you've been here basically a month or so, and you worked seamlessly with our entire team, and everybody did their part. And I mean, the resources were on the ground. Our job is to protect the citizens, and the nonprofits that were there to pick up the support services were there, and incredible job. So kudos and hats off to each and every one of our team members and all the organizations that was there. Looking forward, this week, we will have the Transit Meeting Authority coming up. We'll have Regional Waste Management Authority coming up as well. And the ad hoc committee for the development impact fees and such will be continuing its work. Our job there is hopefully to bring something back, hopefully March or April, to give us some direction. I will say that I've had it seems like there's a synergy around this area. You heard earlier about our finances and our budget, and it's been stifled for the past 8 years because there's been no growth. There's been no developments. And we're trying to take a different approach. And I want to thank everybody that's at the table that's helping us put this together. Ms. Langley, Mr. Moody, and all the teams that are helping us think outside of the box to get economic development growing here. You want to know how we fix the budget, Mr. Morrison? Growth. That's how we fix the budget. As the vice mayor said, there's only so many times that we can go to staff positions, unfilled and those types of things. We have to get economic growth in this community, and we are working very, very diligently to get that. I have been approached by various people with optimism, and I just had to tell them, look, it's been stalemated for a number of years. We've been at this a few months. Just give us a little bit more time. We're trying. So I know my goal, and I believe the vice mayor's, is to try to bring back things as quickly as we can to take care of the city, but to get the growth going in this community. The last thing that I would like to bring up is concerning the budget as well. Forgive me, it's tax season for me. I'm on the ad hoc committee for the budget development. I'm a numbers guy. I've previously asked about this information, but I want to publicly ask for this information now, because this has to do with accountability. And if we're looking at the budget, we as a council need to be held accountable first, and then it trickles down from there. So I would like to take a look back over the past 9 years, which would be the 8 years prior, before this particular council came into office, and this past year for this council. I would like an itemized list by year of each elected position, council members, treasurer and clerk, of all expenditures that we have done by year, by that position, by that member, so that we can look and see how that spending is trending. And so we can look at our budget going forward to make sure that we are being very prudent with the taxpayers' money. And I'm asking for that now. I've asked in private for that before, but I'd really like to have that information by the end of March, because we will be looking at the budget in April, and that's when the ad hoc committee will be coming together. And I think that will help us budget, because quite honestly, you know, we do things that are very important. The league is important. Cap to Cap is important. There's things that's bringing economic growth to this community and helping us take care of our residents. So we need to build the budget around those types of things, and it helps us looking back historically to see where we've been and where we're at and budget going forward. And so that's why I want to go back 8 years prior to us taking office and look at our last year as well, all elected positions. And then that will help us in this council budget as we go through the budgetary process. So that's my request. I'll have more to report next time, as we have a lot of meetings coming up in the next week or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Through the mayor, thank you. A couple things. Chief Alexander, kudos to your crew, and to Chief Landon out there, to his crew, and to Diana and to Ben and to everybody else who helped with the fire. I was out of the state monitoring from afar. One thing I will tell you is the multifamily apartments on McCrae Way have been a historic hazard. In fact, in the fire language, they're called a target hazard, and that's because of their high probability of injury or life loss should a fire occur. It's almost unbelievable to me, as I was getting the reports from fellow council people and social media, that we didn't have anybody hurt or injured on that fire. It's amazing to have a fire in that type of an occupancy or building and not have that result in something a lot more catastrophic. So kudos. There was a brief mention of TIP, Trauma Intervention Program people. You know, again, a lot of agencies have pitched in, continue to pitch in. TIP, for those who don't know, they volunteer, they show up, and they take over when the first responders can't, to provide help, just like the other agencies. Special shout out to TIP. The fellow council folks have talked about some of the other agencies, but Trauma Intervention Program, I truly believe those folks are angels, and they are there when the community needs them. Attended the employee awards. Want to recognize Diana Langley. She won a leadership award. She hated getting that, I think, but it was good to see your efforts recognized at that event. And we have a 25-year recipient out here in the back. I think it was 25, Chief Landon as well, and he received his award from the best presenter. As did Rick Ruggiero, who left us as well. Just a solid jab there. But anyway, the vibe with the employees and the attendance was up, and kudos to those who put that event on to celebrate the great people who work for the city of Yuba City. Quick, Councilman Shaw talked about the impact fee committee. You know, it's one of those things that it really, you know, let's go. And, you know, we have to compile some information. We have to get some things done. But you can bet that there's a sense of urgency in getting this thing going. And to the fellow council people, it's our goal to get you something to consider here just as soon as we possibly can. On the master tax exchange agreement, I'm going to step out on a limb here a little bit and say that I'm a little disappointed, not in our staff, but it takes two to come to an agreement on a master tax exchange agreement. And in this case, it's the city of Yuba City and Sutter County. And for whatever reason, we seem to be having a little bit of a challenge getting information out of Sutter County in regards to getting our models together so that we can compare what it's going to take for us to have a win-win solution. And we're defining a win-win solution as enough money for the county to continue to provide the services they need to, but enough money for the city of Yuba City to provide the services they will inherit should they annex the land in the sphere of influence. So I'm hoping that we can pick up the pace on that a little bit. I know from discussing issues with our consultant, there definitely is a win-win out there. We just have to get a partner, I guess, to the table that's willing to start getting into this stuff instead of continually pushing things off. Couple last things. I know that we had one community workshop. I know that we're desperately trying to schedule more of those. So for the public that may be watching this and for those of you in the audience, those are, we haven't abandoned that concept of getting out and talking about goals and priorities. We're moving those to different locations throughout the cities just to try to make sure that we hit all the population segments. And one thing that happened, even though I was in North Carolina, was I continue to get phone calls about the vaping and the tobacco issue from both sides. And so that's another thing that I want to make sure that the commitment is from those of us involved with that project is to hear both sides, but to continue to have those meetings so that we can hear both sides and get to something on what we as a city are going or not going to do as it relates to flavored tobacco and vaping products. With that, it is going to be a busy couple of weeks. We have the Bacchae, et cetera, but it's probably in the mid-year budget deal. It's comforting to know, Spencer, that someone who has had, and Lynn, that it's comforting to have folks who have had past experience stand and present to us. I appreciate that. I know the challenges that are involved with that, and I just want to make sure I publicly acknowledge the fact that there's a certain level of confidence, at least I have, when I see what's being presented up there, that I'm seeing the real stuff, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before I get started, I too would like to acknowledge our folks, our city staff, and your folks' staff, the chiefs, and Diana Ben for stepping up to that fire. As everyone knows, we were across the ocean, so with the 17-hour delay or time difference, it's kind of hard to monitor or call people or in real time. But what we did get, and Chief, I appreciate the updates and the emails and whatnot. Remarkable. I too share your sentiment that it's amazing that no one even got injured. Particularly the residents. And so kudos to all of you and all of your staff for that. It was a good effort. I really appreciate it. Coming up, I've been working with the Greater Sacramento Economic Council trying to set up a video shoot. They do I think it's a quarterly video featuring different areas under their purview. This time around, Yuba City is up along with Marysville and I believe Yuba County. They're going to do a video interview. It's an interview format. I got to go down to a studio in Sacramento, and they're going to kind of go back and forth with their executive director. Primary goal is economic development and specific touting amenities here in Yuba City to trying to attract other businesses to come here and open up shop. More that growth we've been talking about. So I'll be working on that. I think the shooting date is early March, but we're still trying to decide on the topics and getting some background information on that. As already been stated, the Yuba City Economic Development Commission had the a meeting, first of a series of meetings regarding their comprehensive economic development strategy, otherwise known as CEDS, where we provided input going down a scripted format, provided input on a variety of different topics, which is going to be there from that point on compiled and narrowed down. Eventually, the point is to get it all down to a strategic plan. And hopefully that's one that will be implemented and follow up upon and show some positive results. So a lot of work ahead to put that together, but looking forward to some actual results out of that. The awards day for Yuba City employees was really fun. I think it was a really good theme. Not that the pirate theme last year wasn't, but the sports fan theme was kind of cool because it kind of built in festive and casual, which is what we want. So that was a great idea. The folks did a really awesome, good even decorating the event and a really good turnout. I think the word is getting out that it's actually a legitimate fun time. So great, and congratulations, Chief, on your award and then the retirements. And it was a good time. I was appreciated to have been a part of that. As stated, I was in Japan for the last week for the joining the Sister City Association. Spencer happens to be the president of that association. Did a really good job over there, herding 10 adults and 10 students during the week. We got to show them a lot of very good things, and I think, judging by the amount of tears that occurred when we left, that they had a level of enjoyment, and they received so much more out of that than simply going through the motions of different events. It comes from the heart, and that's an experience that you can only truly appreciate by being there and doing it. But the payback and the investment in that is more than just economic. We're investing in our people. We're improving lives, not only the lives of our 10 students, but the families that they stay with, the parents that they stay with, all the students they go to school with, and then vice versa when they come here. And it's not just for that 1 year. It is literally forever. And the program celebrated its 30th anniversary this year. The painting over here was done by a Japanese artist named Roy Tanaka, and he's a famous artist over there. You may recall, or maybe not recall, that we gifted their mayor a painting of the Sutter Buttes that my son painted last year. And then they did the same thing here, because part of the reason why we are a sister city with Toride, Japan, is the geographic similarity. And then we mentioned it even this year, that you driving through there on a bus, and if it wasn't for the people driving on the wrong side of the road and all the Japanese signage, you could easily be in Marysville, Yuba City. And that's not even, it's remarkable. To include that they are at the confluence of two rivers, and they have a mountain in the distance that looks, you can see, that's it. It's Mount Scuba, and it's looks very similar to the Sutter Buttes over there. So that was really good. Their population is a little bit bigger. It was interesting to me to hear when we went to a community center for one of many cultural experiences, the guy that was on the microphone said, "This is our second largest cultural center or community center." I made the comment, "Well, second largest, I'd just like to have one." You know, but they're doing something right over there to where they have a lot of facilities over. They went to the senior center, and again, some many cultural experiences to include a traditional tea ceremony, and karate, and we made soba, and we also did another one at the Japanese calligraphy. All along the way, they're teaching us about their culture and the meaning behind different things. They're learning about the language, and they're such gracious people that I can't even describe it. It was just a very wholesome and fulfilling and rewarding experience to partner up with those folks from literally across the ocean. So with this plaque here was given to me by Mayor Shingo Fujii, commemorating the 30 years. So this is apparently, I'm not really, lacquered of some sort, but it's got Mount Fuji with some cherry blossoms. What? Fuji-san? All right. So that's that. They also erected a aluminum plaque that stood about, I think the tallest part was 4 feet off the ground, but it had ingrained into etched into the aluminum was a photograph of our folks visiting Toride. They have a park named after Yuba City. There's a Yuba Garden. They have a major plaque every 5 years that they've put out there. The photograph on the 30-year plaque was the photograph of them dedicating the 25-year plaque. So everyone who was there 5 years ago is commemorated there in Toride forever. To include your son, right, Spencer? Your son was there. Steve Krager was on there. A few other people that look familiar to me. So, and there'll be pictures, I'm sure, online. So that was quite nice. So, would you care to elaborate on anything? Or you're good? Did I miss anything? We hit everything pretty good. We do have 2 days free time with your host families. I stayed with the same family last year, and so it was like my home away from home. Maybe a little bit too home, but we had a good time. They took me to a town outside of Toride, a historic town. It would be like if we took somebody to Nevada City, like a historic town. They showed me around, then we went to Tokyo and a few other things. So learned a lot, saw a lot, definitely better for it, and we hope to continue the program into the many more years and to enhance the lives of these young people on both sides of the ocean. So it's a wonderful thing. So, Chief, I understand your son had a good time too. Is that correct? Yeah, he loved it. People comment, you might be, you just can't describe unless you're there, but it's wonderful because it comes from the heart. Everything comes from the heart over there in Japan. Let's see. That's all I have. That took up most of my time since the last council meeting. A lot of things coming up soon, this week or next week or two. This meeting tonight, I would like to close in memory of a brother of a former mayor, Roy Ramirez. His brother, Randy Ramirez, passed away unexpectedly recently. A upstanding person, a very good businessman locally and lands afar from here. But we want to close in memory of him and also in memory of Mr. Larry Montna, my stepfather's brother. Also, the name Montna is definitely, I believe Larry was a former supervisor for the county of Sutter years ago. And he was a good man, and he passed away unexpectedly on Sunday. So I know that we have prepared a letter commemorating closure of this meeting in memory of Randy. If we could do something similar for Mr. Montna, I would appreciate that, and his family would too. All right. That being said, we will close in memory of Randy Ramirez and Mr. Larry Montna. Thank you very much.